What's going on, everybody? This is Isabello, aka Alpha Fantana, Biz Reb. So this is my Anti-Yap Yap video. So a lot of people, they are leveraging Yap Content. And for those who are practitioners and experts, I mean, sure, that's a way to connect to the audience. But then there are those who take advantage and they can just smooth talk people and they can persuade them out of tens of thousands of dollars, if not more. So this is something about the personal development industry where it's just riddled with a lot of scammers. Now, if you are a practitioner, you're a licensed coach. Back in the day, you used to have John C. Maxwell or Disney certifications for personal development coaching. And that's where people had some credibility. But when you see 20-year-olds that are just yapping and they're selling white label products sourced from China at insane deals, which what that does is that it destroys the American economy because suppliers, like myself, cannot compete with those unrealistic prices depending on the commodity, not to mention fulfillment. But there's the conversion rate, which I'm not going to get into. That's a bit too complicated for this conversation. But for the legitimate practitioners and the experts that are out there, we are available for hire. And, I personally host my Candid Thoughts podcast as a way to let people know who I am and what I do. And for those who are not in the know, I am a producer and commodities broker via Alpha Fantana and Chef Isabello. So Alpha Fantana is my production company where I also consult in the consumer packaged goods industry, and I source different products for different clients in the C-store space, retail space. And on the home market, I deliver USDA prime steaks, wild-caught seafood, free-range chicken and pork across Southern California, and I have also delivered beyond. So that's that. And then as far as my production services, I have actually produced commercials that are national U.S. television, feature films that have been distributed in 23 countries. And I've said this ad nauseum, but a lot of people are not paying attention. And I can't fault you for that because I'm not your favorite channel. But I'm going to yap for you guys right now because this is the most responsive form of content right now, where I can overproduce something and then it's the peanut gallery, or I can yap right here and then we can chat. There's that. But this is just a stream of consciousness. Wanted to let you know that yapping is a way to communicate and connect with an audience. However, there are those who are not legit practitioners who will scam people out of thousands of dollars for their coaching services. So just be aware. Now, there are legitimate practitioners and people who genuinely want to help you, but then there are those who are also just, smooth talkers. So exercise caution. And if you're actually, in that space, have some ethics and actually deliver on what you want. Because I've heard that there's a huge problem with a lot of people expending tens of thousands of dollars in coaching, getting scammed and getting no result. So if you offer SEO services or internet services, then at least deliver, right? So with my professional production services, I actually do full suite production, from concept to completion. So what that means is that I offer development deals where I will develop a treatment with you guys, reach out and pitch to my network, hire crew, actually get the production done, and leverage my distribution contacts that I spent the past 15 years leveraging and developing those connections through my actual labor. So you got to be careful with who you trust. And now here's a bit of a history lesson. So when I was starting out, I went to film school in 2012, and I worked for a number of different clients, including Hallmark Channel. There's Kabillion, Splash Entertainment, Hachitan Entertainment. I had a number of other clients as well, including Jazzercise and Fab Kids, which you guys may be very well familiar with if you bother to do your due diligence. But I know most people don't do due diligence. I know this is a bit longer than most people expect Yap Content to be, but again, I'm not a typical yapper. I'm an actual practitioner of my expertise. And as far as the consumer packaged goods, I was formerly the sales manager for Glow Beverages Inc. That's Kylie Jenner's sparkling water company. There's a lot of stories that are going to be coming out, so you guys be aware. But I was in the lion's den, so there's that. And there's a company called B&F Kombucha in Jun, which is based in Eugene, Oregon. It's a fantastic operation that has the best kombucha on the market, bar none, the smoothest kombucha. So you guys are going to be hearing about that in Southern California. Now, you can currently get it in Washington State, Oregon, Montana, Idaho, Alaska, and some other states. But, you know, it's very exciting stuff. You guys can, you know, get some if you're in those areas. And so it's the smoothest kombucha on the market, bar none. Go ahead and find it, guys, and you can taste it for yourselves. But again, this is an anti-Yap Yap video where I'm actually holding the experts accountable. You know, because a lot of people, I get sweet talk, those who want results, and they get scammed out of thousands of dollars, versus when, you know, you are an expert and a practitioner, you're actually held accountable because you actually have the burden of performance, versus being a coach where you can just reiterate some things you've read on the internet without having the actual expertise and having done the work, and people will believe you. So yes, we're in a very gullible time in 2026. So this is why I urge people to bother to do their due diligence. Now, I have my expensive ass websites, I've got my social media, and I've been propagating content there for years for a reason, for people to bother to do their due diligence. But I know if you're not a recruiter, or if you're not actively hiring, then that's not a practice that most of you are used to. So I would get into the practice of doing some due diligence so you don't get scammed, guys. You know, start holding yourselves accountable and have an inner locus of control instead of an outer locus of control where you blame everybody. Inner locus of control, you say, hey, I am going to do my research. I'm not going to get got. I'm actually going to hire an expert, not just because some guy said they would. I'm going to look and find somebody who has the 5 years of expertise doing something, or 15 years of expertise doing something else. You know, so there's that, folks. I want you guys to hold yourselves accountable. All right, let's get into the practice of holding yourselves accountable and not getting got by scammers. All right, guys? So, anti-Yap Yap video, unless you're a legitimate practitioner who can promise, you know, your clients your offer, right? It's the whole purpose of people spending money, at least with done-for-you models. You have an expert that actually delivers on the product or service that they promised. You know, that's a win-win situation instead of just a taker situation where somebody gives a false promise they don't deliver. Now, with commodities, it's I have commodity A, and you pay me to get that commodity, and you get that. Or with a service, you know, I offer a service, and I will deliver that per my promise, and you will pay me money for that, right? It's not just I have information that I scalped off the internet, and I've probably did a month of research, and that was about it, versus somebody who's actually been doing it for, you know, 10, 15 years, and actually has a client list behind them, and, you know, some measurable results. But we live in a different day and age, and so just be careful with the coaching space right now, guys. I know this is long, and it goes against the grain, but again, I'm not part of the grain. You know, I'm a little bit older and experienced. I'm not some 20-something-year-old. I'm 34. But that's besides the point. All right, guys. Subscribe to my Candid Thoughts podcast. You can hear different things from experts in different fields. And, yeah, talk soon.